You over there, get over here and get ready for episode 3 of DDR. It's a podcast all about our favorite drow, Drizzt Do'Urden. My name is Justin, and in this episode, we will be diving deep into Homeland Chapter 3 entitled The Eyes of a Child, discussing all of our favorite plot points, characters, and more.
And my name is Jeffrey. I may have mentioned once or twice that we're a little bit of big fans of the Dungeons & Dragons tabletop game, so one of the things we're definitely going to do with this chapter is take a look at how it applies.
Following along with the show is easy. Just grab a copy of the book, read the next chapter, and tune in every week. But remember, we want to hear your thoughts too, so you can share your favorite parts of the chapter via email at drizztdoneright@gmail.com.
We also want to welcome you to be part of the ongoing discussion on our very own Drizzt Done Right Discord. Yep, the Discord invitation, you can find it inside of the link to this podcast description. And if you bring up some interesting points, send us your favorite parts about the chapter, you just might make it onto the show. As an example, today we had user Short Bus Zombie was wondering if Drizzt's birth, while the magic and blessing of Lolth were definitely in play, could be considered an act of true chaos on behalf of the Spider Queen. If you got an opinion on this or just want to get in on some great discussion, click that invite link and join the Discord.
Also on Discord, we had username Roland Flag posted a link to a Facebook post from R.A. Salvatore. It was the post itself was from back in 2018. It was a memory that he had while he was creating this character Drizzt. And, if you missed that post in the discussion board, you're going to want to go check it out. It's absolutely hilarious. I would love to tell the story here, but go check it out yourself. It's worth your time.
Also, a special little shout out to Tommy Lee Bryant. I want you to know that we saw the messages, the shares, and the tags that you went ahead and put us in. And, honestly, just want to say thank you. We definitely appreciate it. Also, big shout out to the Drizzt Do'Urden fan club page on Facebook, as well as Drizzt Do'Urden fans, that's fans with a Z, page. We really do appreciate you guys letting us join the communities that you put together, and we hope that you enjoy the content we put together for you.
Awesome. Well, Jeffrey, we're coming out of Christmas vacation here. You probably went back to work by now, right?
Me? No. I stay huddled up inside of the closet and wait as the people stand outside trying to collect bills with pitchforks and torches.
Man, that's the life. That is the life.
It worked for Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that we're finally all healthy here at the Kolb household, but, well, now Sarah's coming down with the same cold that Penny had last week, so yay!
What you got to do is get Sarah another set of dice and have her re-roll the Constitution check.
Right. We got to get those con saves. We got to get what do you call that? Proficiency on those. Just
right. You would think being married to the DM would get you to be able to roll with advantage, but man,
that DM, he's brutal.
So other than that, the health of the family and such, what have you been up to? Anything fun? Anything interesting?
Oh man, this week has been a blur. Celebrating Christmas with the kids. It's been awesome. I said Penny was sick, but she got over it pretty quickly, and it's fun just to sit down with the kids, play some new games that they got for Christmas. We got a few weird card games, board games, things like that, and it's like, and we all just sit down and play them together. It's a lot of fun. It's great. How about yourself?
Nice. Well, I got these fancy dancy new headphones I've got on today. It was a Christmas gift. Yeah. Was able to come see you guys for Christmas Eve. We all got together, did a little gift exchange, little gathering, little fun time.
Some eggnog.
And right, got to watch some football that didn't always turn out so well, but it was entertaining. Other than that, really not a whole lot, man. Just spending time with Elizabeth, hanging out with my cats, and watching some good TV, having fun.
Nice. That's awesome.
So how about we go ahead and fire this baby up and get it started?
Awesome. Let's go ahead and get this started with The Drizzt. The Drizzt. It's the part of the show where we take a look at this week's chapter and we give you the Drizzt of it. So this week...
Clever. Very clever.
I know, right? It's never going to get old. So this week in chapter 3, we have basically two main stories going on at the same time here. So first we have Alton Devere and the Faceless One meeting while Massage kind of stands by and eventually moves into the scene. So we start with a curious Massage of House Hunette, that is the sixth house of Menzoberranzan. He is a cleaning attendant for the Faceless One, and he is anxiously awaiting Alton Devere, as he was summoned to come see the Faceless One at his quarters. Alton arrives knowing full well that this summon cannot be good, as, it's very out of the ordinary. It's before the day's lessons have even begun.
No, and I'll tell you, as a child who had maybe gotten into quite a bit of trouble in school, like nothing bad, but getting summoned to the principal's office before the day started, I realized it was not a good way to go.
That is not great. So, as Alton enters the Faceless One's quarters, he sees a room that is lit with candles, and the Faceless One is hunched over with his back toward the entrance. Now, one thing I thought was interesting here was, he had a bunch of candles in there. First thing that crossed my mind was does he have all those candles so that they don't see his face? But then...
Oh, that's interesting, because you would think that the light illuminates everything, right? But if we're Drow that have the infrared vision or the dark vision, infravision, they would be blinded by all that light. And exactly. So technically would obscure him even further.
Yeah. But then I was thinking, well, he is a master sorcerer, right? A master wizard. So he probably has that for his scrolls. But there could be something else there as well.
That's what it landed me on, was I thought that it was kind of a funny way to think, like, if you're a cleric or, the high priestess is anybody who deals with magic, your scrolls would be hard to read without light. Yep. Even if you could see in the dark, the printing doesn't carry heat latently. Right.
Yeah.
So they would have a lot of candles and then be at a disadvantage sight-wise, technically, to the rest of Menzoberranzan.
Yeah. Excuse me. So we have Alton entering the Faceless One's chambers, and with a quick perception check, Alton hears the Faceless One muttering a spell, and soon after that, chaos ensues. The Faceless One completes the spell, but apparently misses Alton, and his door takes the brunt of the spell, which explodes off his hinges, and Alton flees, and the chase is on. Alton eventually reaches a room. He's stumbling through all these corridors because all of these candles they light the place up, and so he's having trouble figuring out where to go. But eventually he gets to a room that has a mirror. And what's a mirror? He figures it's probably just another door, basically, and he's like, well, let's try to escape through it. And hey, it's just a mirror. He kind of shatters it.
Sometimes in life, a mirror is just a mirror.
Exactly. So we have the Faceless One eventually catches up to the dazed Alton and entraps him in a system of magical webs. He reveals to Alton that his whole family is dead, just as Dynan wanted him to. And but that happens just as the Faceless One himself becomes dead, because he is killed by his personal janitor, Massage. Ooh!
I'll tell you, here I thought it was a really good point that I don't think the Faceless One, they say it, right? He never intended to finish off the part that Dynan said, where he wanted to make sure that Alton Devere knew it was House Do'Urden that was responsible for the downfall. He gets right to the point, and he realizes he can inflict just a little bit more torture. And he tells him, do you want to know who killed your family? Tough. And then he goes to try to kill Alton, and I thought that was a really kind of funny way for to show the personality of the Drow peeking through, is that he just wants to create as much pain in Alton as he can, because Alton is not dying peacefully. He's making it quite complex for the Faceless One to kill him, and he's irked by that.
Yeah. So he is killed by his own janitor. Right? So, if you guys have your own maid or janitor, make sure you treat them well. The Faceless One didn't. He apparently didn't, and now he's dead. Massage is then about to kill Alton, which would look like he was avenging his master, right? So Alton killed the Faceless One. Massage comes in, saves the day, and kills Alton. So he has his alibi. But Alton, quick on his feet, comes up with a plan that benefits both of them. Alton would take on the identity of the Faceless One, allowing him to plan his revenge on the house that wiped House DeVere from Menzo Baronzon. Meanwhile, at the same time, allowing Massage to have an easy go through Sorcerer. So Massage bites on the idea, but doesn't cut Alton loose from the webs before get the acid.
Right? That was one of the more chilling parts of that. I thought it was a really good back and forth between Alton and Massage, where you feel that like Alton is the prey trapped in a snare and has nowhere to go, and Massage is completely enjoying every bit of this power struggle, or not. I guess it's not even a power struggle. It's the advantage of power over such a immobilized being. Yeah. And he's kind of savoring that fear a little bit. And then Alton just turns around and he's like, hey, how about I make your life easier? And Massage stops and like strokes his non-existent goatee while he thinks about it and goes, that's not a bad idea, but you can't be the Faceless One. You have a face.
Exactly. Oh.
Right? And that does beg the question after all of this: if the maid has killed, the janitor has killed the Faceless One, who's going to clean up this mess?
I guess the janitor has to clean it up. So that's pretty much the Drizzt of the Alton DeVere, the Faceless One, and the Massage scene that's going on there. The other story that's going on in this chapter is the fact that this baby has purple eyes.
Yeah, definitely. When I read this first time, like way back when, I was like, purple eyes. That is such a striking feature.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Yeah. So so that's the other story in this chapter. So Drizzt's, that's hard to say. Drizzt's sisters, Vierna and Maya, are quick to notice that his eyes are purple, something that is very strange in this world, the world of the Drow. And I mean, so I don't know, do they ever say up to this point what color Drow's eyes normally are? I always imagined red, but...
So I don't know if they mention it specifically at this point, but they do mention that his eyes show up differently. So she goes and has one of the, I believe Breeza goes and gets the candle,
right,
to see what his eyes look like in the regular world.
Exactly.
And that's when they notice that it's different like that.
Yeah.
But I do believe that in the infravision, they show up as red.
No, it shows up as purple in both.
No, I mean like normally for most of the Drow they would.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, but Drizzt shows up as purple in both infravision as well as the visible light and in normal candlelight. So that, yeah, but I assume that like the more common color is just red. I don't know if they have other colors or not. But anyway, so his sisters briefly contemplate sacrificing Drizzt to Lolth because they think that he could be blind. But Vierna is quick to notice that his eyes are following her fingers as she moves them around in front of her face. So they don't do that. But then they show the candle. And what's really interesting about the candle, when they expose Drizzt to the candle, yes, they see that his eyes are purple in both infrared and visible light. But what's more noticeable is the fact that he does not cry in the presence of light. It doesn't hurt him, as it would a normal Drow.
I mean, if you think about, like moles, I guess, as an animal example, they come out and they can't see in the sunlight. Their eyes are completely biologically engineered towards living in the Underdark, or living in the dark. And
we'll
so just like the Drow,
sure,
right? Just like the Drow, you would figure that the light would be painful to them. But for Drizzt, it's not. At least it's not nearly as painful. Or is it maybe because Drizzt doesn't cry out in pain? You think he feels that?
Oh, that's a good point. Well, I just figured that his eyes, there's something going on there that just makes him not what's the word I'm looking for? Opposite of resistance. Like, you know, it doesn't hurt him. Like he is resistant to it. Not opposite of resistance. Like he is resistant to that pain. Man, brain. Huh. I should get one. All right. So then Matron Malice instructs Vierna, the middle sister, to basically raise Drizzt until he is about 10 years old. Of course, the oldest sister just became a high priestess of Lolth, and so Vierna's thinking, I could do the same thing in just a few years. Why don't you give Drizzt to Maya or someone else? Like, let me move on. But Malice quickly shoots down that notion and pretty much forces her to be Drizzt's full-time nanny, saying that the skills that she will gain while raising Drizzt will only aid in her becoming a high priestess.
Which might really be like the most natural family conversation everyone has ever had, where the younger sibling was tagging along with like the middle sibling, where it's like, look after your little brother or your little sister, make sure they're okay. Like, why is it my responsibility? Like, because I said so. It's going to make you a better person. Do what you're told.
Middle child syndrome. All right, so that about does it for the Drizzt. Let's go ahead and move on to the dim light reel.
Ooh, the dim light reel is where we cast darkness on our favorite parts of the chapter, and we dim light all our favorite characters, events, descriptions, and more. For me, wanted to start out with Massage Hunette. It's kind of a funny way to say it, because when I read it over and over again, I never came up with the name Massage as also the act, but now I can't not hear it. I think Massage is really an intriguing character here. He comes from the house Hunette, run by Matron Sinefe, and he's clearly an opportunistic individual. He's tidying up the room outside of the Faceless One when he takes his attack of opportunity at Alton Devere. What I find fascinating is that Massage is just another Drow when we meet him. He's basically a janitor, cleaning servant, like you had mentioned. However, through a series of fortunate events, he ends up gaining control of a figurine from the Faceless One, eliminating a thorn in his side by taking his attack of opportunity, and then solidifying his standing by making Alton take over the identity of the Faceless One. If there's anything more Drow in this chapter, I'm really not sure what it is. Like, they're clearly devious by nature, and Massage is a great example of how guile and deception are rewarded by Lolth.
You know, I totally forgot about that figurine. That was, I'm sure, a major motive of him killing the Faceless One. Of course, like, the Faceless One did not treat him well, and they actually go into how they got that figurine. What exactly was it? It was...
He was helping a denizen of the lower plane.
That's what it was.
And Alton is completely kind of like, yeah, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
No, you didn't. So he doesn't believe it, but Massage is like, no. The Faceless One took credit for everything, but it was really me.
Yeah. Now, we didn't get to see exactly what that figurine does just yet, but I know you have a little more to say about that.
I mean, at this point, I feel like it's probably one of those little plastic army men you have on the corner, right? There's no importance to that figurine, right?
Right. We don't know anything about that. Not yet, but we will see.
What's one of the things that popped up to you in this chapter?
So it wasn't necessarily a character or a spell or but it was just a moment, just a very funny moment. So we had Alton Devere and the Faceless One's confrontation. It was this high energy roller coaster. So there were, between the doors getting blown off its hinges and the Faceless One getting stabbed in the back by his janitor, there was plenty to keep you on the edge of your seat. There was one moment during this encounter that provided just a little bit of comic relief for me, and that was the mirror. So as Alton was fleeing the Faceless One, he did so in the infrared spectrum, which proved difficult, as I was saying, because the Faceless One lit much of his the corridors around his quarters with candles. So there was a lot of visible light. I shouldn't say visible light, just because the Drow have a different visible spectrum, but you get the idea. Anyway, Alton stumbled around clumsily until he saw something that could only be described as another doorway. And then I thought this was interesting. He was able to switch his sight from light to, from infrared to light. And then as he was standing in front of this this mirror, he saw his reflection. So they have the ability in their eyes to, just like we would probably, I imagine, we're able to focus on something close versus something far away. They're able to focus on different types of light. They're able to switch from one type of light to the other. I just thought that was an interesting moment there.
Yeah, no, I mean, when you say it like that, what it brings to mind for me is like a crocodile. As they go under the water, they have the side eyelids that close, and they protect the eye with a membrane that allows them to see underwater. And then they can come up, and that goes away. They can see above the water. It's not exactly, but it's kind of what hit me.
I was the science teacher, Jeff. I should know that.
I watch a lot of TV, darn it, and they put up weird hypotheses.
Anyway, so he never saw a mirror before, but he did hear that Sorcerer Masters used them. So his solution for escape? Charge the mirror. He never saw one before. It could possibly transport him far away from this whole situation, but oops. Perhaps it's just a mirror. I loved that line. Perhaps it's just a mirror, because he ends up running directly into it and just shattering the whole mirror.
I mean, it's a really good peek into the way that, again, Salvatore a lot of times will use items, sometimes from D&D, in a different way than they're supposed to be used, but also looking at normal everyday objects that me and you would consider to be just something that hangs on the wall to look at how our hair looks.
I mean,
yep. How it might be completely different if you've never seen one.
Yeah. Like, how many mirrors do you have in your house? I mean, how many bathrooms do you have? We have 3 bathrooms, and then we have a mirror over the sink. We have a mirror in our bedroom, a mirror in both. Like, we have so many mirrors. But to a drow, it's completely out of the ordinary.
Must seem like magic.
Yeah. I mean, if you never saw a mirror before, it would seem like magic, I'm sure. But I just wanted to let you know, I know we're still, like you, Jeffrey, we're still in the same campaign that we've been playing for how many years now? We started like a year and a half,
probably 2 years. I'd say about a year and a half going on 2, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and toward the beginning of our campaign, we had a city that was covered in a magical shield that prevented evil from getting into the city. But somehow, some evil got in. Turns out there was a mirror inside the, what was it? The Archmage's quarters, and which was being used as a transport in and out of the city. So yeah, I totally got this. I totally got that idea from this scene right here.
I enjoyed that because the party's response to this interdimensional portal was, you know what? Let's just spin the mirror around to the wall, put it, entrance to the wall, and we'll take the thing that activates the mirror, which I believe was a chalice or a candelabra holder, something like that on the wall.
A torch that sat in a sconce. Yeah.
The sconce, that's it. And so we just turned the mirror around, put it up against the wall, took the sconce, and took off.
Yep. And there it sat until the whole city burned down. Not from any kind of doing from the party. Let me just say that. The party did not burn the city down. That was something totally different. Anyway.
That fire was always burning since the world's been turning.
Pretty much, yeah. That was that everlasting fire or whatever. Awesome. Well, did you want to talk about the second dim light that you had listed there, Jeffrey?
Yep. For me, the other thing that jumped out at me was the moment in this chapter where Vierna, the middle sister, becomes a word wiener. Yeah. So one thing that was really funny was the birth of an inferior male to the women of the household of Do'Urden were tasked with word weaning him, which I believe means they're really responsible for teaching him the way of the Drow, right? Like how to speak, how to show respect, and how to understand their proper role inside of the society. To me, all I could hear, though, is word wiener.
She's a word wiener.
Yeah. Like, being the juvenile that I am inside, it just makes me chuckle.
Man, I wish we could have. I wish we could have caught my reaction in the recording, because I did not see that at all until we were going through our outline before the podcast. And oh man, it took me a good like 3 or 4 minutes to clear up from crying. Oh
It's,
man.
you know, you like I said, wordplay will be something we use repeatedly. Like I chose this one specifically because for me it reinforces the matriarchal society and the lust for power that seems to be inherently found in the Drow. Like Matron Malice is set on making sure that all of her daughters become high priestesses that bring favor and station to her house.
Mm-hmm.
And Breeza, recently ordained, is just she's too important to
Right.
be tasked with raising a male.
Yep.
So it ends up falling on Vierna because she's still a few years away from being considered, which makes her just right.
Poor Vierna. She'll learn to love him, right?
Uh, we will have to stay tuned and get see.
Yep.
But for now, I believe that's going to take us right into the dungeon delve.
The Dungeon Delve. It's the part of the show where we link this chapter with our favorite tabletop RPG. As I always say, Jeffrey and I, we love to play Dungeons and Dragons. We do play 5e, but if you play a different version, that's awesome too. If you play a totally different game, if you play Lord of the Rings RPG or tabletop RPG or whatever they call it, or I know there's Star Wars, there's Star Trek, they're all awesome. They all have just their own different flavor, but it's all just a great concept. I just love tabletop RPGs. So
No, I agree. Anything that kind of takes you out of your normal routine, whatever you want to call it, and has you like just experience a little bit of creativity and how to overcome obstacles, how to work with a team, how to build a character. Like that's all really, really cool, fun things. I get completely fascinated by it.
yeah, and it provides just a little bit of an escape. When you're in the midst of those games, you're not thinking about the stressors of work or anything like that, and it's just a fun time. So, who talked last? Did I talk last? I think I talked
I think
last.
this
Yeah,
is
you jump
no,
in.
I fed the thing, so then you would lead because I talked to the third part of the previous one. So I threw you the dungeon delve. That way you can jump in. And
All
run with it.
right. Well, have it your way. All right. So the D&D link that I wanted to make here is the web spell that is cast by the Faceless One. So when Alton is attempting to run from the Faceless One, he feels this gooey substance floating down around him, is what R.A. Salvatore says. These webs were cast by the Faceless One, who then goes on to scold Alton for breaking his door. Did Alton actually do that? Then for breaking his mirror. And
Well, Alton kind of did that one.
He did do that
Definitely.
one, but yeah. So anyway.
Only because he was being chased by a maniacal fireball throwing wizard.
So he has this quick spat with Alton, just long enough for Massage to give the Faceless One a quick stab in the back. Of course, once dead, Massage starts talking with Alton, and the webs remain. So initially, I was looking at this and thinking, oh, this sounds just like the web spell, and then I was like, hold on. There's a key difference here, and so I want to get into that. So the web spell in 5e is a second level conjuration spell. So when cast, a 20-foot cube of webs are conjured, and they become difficult terrain for anyone that wants to walk through them. So it's going to take double your movement to move through them. The player that casts it can situate the webs in a couple different formations depending on the situation. So if they hang them off of something off the ceiling, or maybe they just want to lie them all on the floor. But so there's a few options there. But anyone that starts their turn within the webs is going to have to start their turn by making a dexterity saving throw, and it doesn't specifically outline what the DC is on that, what the difficulty challenge difficulty challenge? It's DC. I just know like DC is the number that you try to beat. DC difficulty challenge, I guess, right?
It sounds solid to me.
We'll go with that. So on a fail, if you fail this dexterity saving throw, then you're restrained by these webs. You get caught up in these webs and you're stuck. You can't move. But then you get to possibly use an action. If you are stuck, you can use an action to try to break free from these webs. And here it specifies that the strength save DC is equivalent to the spell save DC of the caster. So I would imagine that the dexterity saving throw DC would be the same as the spell save DC. So anyway, I was surprised to see that this was only a second level spell if this was cast by the Faceless One himself, being a master wizard. But what makes this really interesting is that the webs do not go away even after the Faceless One dies. This means that he actually created webs. He didn't just conjure them. You know, he didn't have to maintain concentration on this spell, as the web spell says. So, homebrew idea.
You guys at home that are listening can't see that Justin is pantomiming with his hands as if hail is falling all around him.
But, well, eventually maybe we'll get a Patreon going or something, and we can post the videos for the people that sign up for Patreon, because we are recording videos of all of these. So, you know, something to look forward to if we get to that point. So anyway, homebrew idea, increase the spell level. I was thinking maybe at least level 5, if not 6. I think at level 5, wizards can have a maximum of like, was it 3 spell slots? I should have made a note of that, but it was something like that. So even up to like level 20, you get like 3 level 5 spell slots. But then drop the need for concentration. That way you're actually like creating these webs. So I actually went ahead and I made a stat block for this. And at this point, I'm just going to, keep them in a folder. And we'll do that with a lot of our stat blocks. Just keep them in a folder, see what we want to do with it. If you guys ask very, very nicely, maybe we'll show them to you. But we're not really sure.
How would they be able to ask you? Like, where would they show up to ask about the stat blocker?
Man, Jeffrey, I have no idea. I mean, we only have an email and a Discord.
We do have a Facebook too.
Oh,
they
man,
could go on the Facebook.
I forgot about that. So,
right?
I mean, we have email at drizzdoneright@gmail.com. You can click on the invitation link for our Discord within the description of this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And then
we also have the Facebook page, Drizzt Done Right, that they can find there.
Now
they can go on there to the Facebook page and follow along, like the page. And inside of the page, you'll also see the Discord link, invitation link posted on our Facebook. And that's where we're also going to give you updates and a little bit of heads up about the drops that are coming for the episodes and kind of what we're going through at the moment.
Awesome.
So if you got any kind of questions, maybe want to try to see if you can get a peek at some of them stat blocks, the things we keep behind the curtain, that might be where you want to go.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, speaking of a web spell here, I mean, we're keeping all of our modes of reaching out to you guys, we're keeping them all webbed together. There's links for our Discord on our podcast. There's links for the podcast on our Discord. There's links for the podcast on our Facebook. And we should probably get a Facebook link on here as well. And just web all those things together so that it's very easy to get to all of our different modes of communication.
Because at the end of the day, what it's really about is trying to get this stuff out to you guys, and also to allow all of you who are listening to this to try to be a part of the show. Reach out, touch base. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you feel. Let us know what you want to know.
Yeah, because you guys are really part of this show as well. I mean, as we've seen with the Discord so far, it really blew up within the past couple days, and it's affected the show already. It has affected the show. So keep up the good work, guys. You're awesome.
Right? We appreciate you. Towards that end, I want to give you guys one more thing to think about as far as the D&D tie-in. We did mention earlier that when Massage kills the Faceless One, he does have an interest in the small figurine that's in his pocket, I believe, or in the pocket of the Faceless One. and joked a little bit about it being an army man, but it's an onyx figurine that's shaped like a panther. To those of you who are listening, you've probably read all these books and know exactly who this is, but allow me to kind of throw it at you. He claims the gift was a denizen from the lower plane for the help that he helped the Phaseless One with. And like I said earlier, Alton really didn't even believe him while he was just stuck with nowhere to go and facing certain death. So we might feel a little skeptical about his claim. However, he wants this figurine so bad because it's going to summon a 600-pound panther from the astral plane that goes by the name of Gwenwyvar.
Gwenwyvar?
I do believe that's how you pronounce it. Yep, Gwenwyvar.
Oh, and man. So,
I thought it was kind of cool that the astral plane is the plane of thought, memory, and psychic energy. It's where gods go when they die or are forgotten, or most likely both. It's a barren place with only rare bits of solid matter. And so for me, I think the closest thing I could find to the Gwenwyvar's figurine in 5e is the figurine of Wondrous Power, which you can find on page 169 of the Dungeon Master Guide. It's chapter 7, Treasure. And what it says is it's wondrous item. Rarity is varied by figurine. It's a statuette of a small beast, small enough to fit in your pocket. And a full action is used to throw the figurine to a point within 60 feet of you, kind of like ninja, pop smoke, throw it on the ground, right?
Yep.
And once you utter the command word, poof, out pops the panther, or whatever your figurine is bringing out. So the creature speaks your languages. It's friendly to you, and without a spoken command, it's going to sit there and just defend itself. The duration of the creature's existence is unique to each figurine, which means that there's no set time for how long each figure or creature that it conjures is going to be with us. And then there's going to be a set amount of time, which varies again between how long must pass before the figurine can be used again. Mm-hmm. So I think that the most prudent use for an item like this is probably a 12-hour cooldown. Oh, I feel like you got to... It's a long time, but I mean, think of the advantage that it gives you having Gwenwyvar walking around all the time.
I was honestly thinking that's a little short. I know Golden...
For the cooldown?
Yeah, I know Golden Lions is... which is used by Shaddy in our campaign, Golden Lions. That's a 7-day cooldown. Now, of course, that's 2 lions. It's a little different than a panther, but it's still like... But...
and I mean, in the way that it's used, I was kind of trying to figure out how you could best represent Gwenwyvar, and to see how Drizzt will go on to be companions and side by side. It wouldn't make a lot of sense, I think, to have such a long time between when you could call.
Right. If you're trying to come up with a stat block that is consistent with the book, yeah, I would say a shorter cooldown. If there is a cooldown at all, it almost seems like, I mean, getting ahead of the chapter here a little bit, but it almost seems like he's able to call Gwenwyvar. I always just Gwenwyvar is what I always said, but it always.
No, I'm with you.
It always seemed like he was pretty much able to call the panther whenever he wanted, just at will, but.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see times, I do believe, when, and again, don't want to get too far ahead, but when Gwenwyvar takes damage or maybe struggles with things on this plane of existence, it just doesn't pop back into existence in 30 seconds kind of deal. So I was kind of figuring out there's got to be some time where Gwenwyvar recharges in some form or another, not necessarily sleep or rest, but maybe... accumulation of fatigue for having been active.
You got to take him to a Pokemon Center to get him recharged.
Just got to catch them all, plug it in, let him roam. So, looking at how Drizzt uses Gwen for companionship as well as scouting and fighting, I feel like she'd have to be able to be around for a long period of time. So I think maybe like a 4-6 hour limit as far as how long she can stay on the corporeal plane without having to go revisit and recharge in the astral plane.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I figure if you were playing a campaign and, Gwenwyvar was able to be around all day long, it would really just be too overpowered and broken.
That would be like a totally new PC added to the group, Which maybe
Yeah.
your D&D group needs, just a little bit of extra help. Maybe you're a group of 3 and it would help to have that 4th. Hey, give one of the characters their own panther. Perfect. Problem solved.
All you have to do is have your character in your campaign act as a maid of sorts, sit in the side, wait for an attack of opportunity, slay a wizard, and snag their figurine.
Easy.
Cakewalk.
Easy. All right.
Oh, man.
Well,
It's like I feel like after we get through all that, it kind of doesn't leave a whole lot left. I feel like we're wrapping it up here, bud.
Yep, that's just about it for this episode, I think. So I want to thank everyone if you stuck around this long. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening. Remember that if you like the show, give us a 5-star rating on whatever medium you're watching us on. Also, make sure that you are getting the most out of this podcast. Pick up a copy of the book if you haven't already, and read along with us.
And I'm never one to try to exclude anybody. So if for any reason you can't read, go pick yourself up an audiobook copy, listen at work, listen during your commute, maybe even when you're at home enjoying just a little bit of solitude. Right? When you're done with chapter 3, you go ahead and shoot us an email at drizztdoneright@gmail.com. Hop on into the Discord, the invitation link you can find inside the description of this podcast. And just let us know. Feel free to interact with the community that we've got building. Throw out fun ideas. Let us know where you're at and what you like in the book. And, just give us a shout out. Say hello. We love to do it.
The Discord is it's hopping right now. So we would love to see you guys on there. Love to hear from you, hear how you first got into these books. How did you get into them? How did you hear about them? Who was the first person to purchase the book for you, or whatever? We want to hear your story. So put that out there on the welcome page, and we'd just love to hear from you. But it's been a blast. But now it's time to say goodbye.
I think we're gonna have to go and say farewell. You guys out there, play fair, be well.